IKEA Multimedia has just released the Arc 4, which basically is a room correction system, and I have one of these packages. So let's take a look at what is in here, set it all up, and along the way figure out what is cool and what is not so cool about this system. Let's get started. Alright, so in the box we have a short manual, which is actually pretty straightforward. You have to register and download the software. You have to do the calibration, the analysis. Then you have to send it to the Arc Studio box. And then you have to connect your speakers to it. That's basically all there is to it to set this up. We've got the Arc Studio in here, which is a hardware box, which is something that I'm super duper excited about. More on that later, because we're not going to need this directly. We of course got a power supply in here. Also not going to need right now. We've got a smaller box with in there our measurement microphone and a USB cable, which we're also not going to need right now, because the only thing that we need right now is this measurement microphone, because the first step that we need to do is actually measure everything. For this demo, to keep things simple, I'm using this interface that I also have here for a review. This is the Neumann MT48. And I'm going to calibrate these speakers to my room. And the reason for that is simply because my big speakers, these ones, are already calibrated to my room in a fixed DSP that is built into the wall that I can't access. So there's no real need to calibrate them. And it would be really interesting to actually calibrate these smaller type of speakers, because I think we can learn a few things from that as well. Now, the microphone that comes with this package is an XLR microphone. It's no USB microphone or something fancy. It's a very simple plastic feeling microphone, measurement microphone. So it's important that you're using an interface with a preamp. Fun fact, actually, my RME interfaces, they don't have preamps in there. They are just line level interfaces. However, most small home studio or 2-channel interfaces, they usually come with microphone input. So we're going to plug the Arc Studio into the mic input, and we're going to make sure that we have phantom power enabled. And when it works, you can see a green light on here showing that the mic is indeed receiving phantom power. And if we just talk into it, we will see that we have some level in here. Compared to, for instance, SonarWorks, Arc Studio is going to need a stand on which you have to put your microphone. That's at least what they're saying in the setup process. So I have a stand over here. We're going to put the mic on there like this. I think I'm going to have to lower it a little bit, but the setup process will guide us through this. Now, it feels a lot better to have your measurement microphone on a stand. However, I've seen a lot of professional people measure rooms just with a handheld microphone. And this is because you're basically taking multiple measurements. This is what Arc is going to do as well. And then take an average of those measurements. We are never fixed in one position. When we're listening, we're always moving around a little bit. So it's way better to get an average response of a room than have a precise one place response. It's actually way worse to do that. If you want to see an advanced measurement tutorial, let me know in the comments down below, because I would love to show how to measure a room in RoomIQ Wizard or something. Let me know. Now let's start the setup process. So we've got a welcome screen and then we have our hardware setup. It's asking which microphone I'm using, and I think I'm using this one. So we got our output device, which is the MT48. I've got my speakers plugged into this interface as well. We got our input here. We've got 48 kHz sample rate, and we indeed have microphone signal from me not being able to shut up. Next, mic setup. Select the room configuration that best represents the listening area that you would like to correct. The images are indicators only. Use them simply to orient yourself in the analysis process. We can choose a project studio, monitor spot, wide area, back theater, or home theater. I think for this one I'm going for a project studio, because the way these speakers are set up are pretty much project studio like. One of the challenges with this setup is that it's actually, we have a big desk in front of it. And although the desk is acoustically designed, it's designed according to the Neumann shape, it does have a lot of acoustic influence. Position the Arc microphone, place and align your microphone horizontally approximately close to your ears. So let's see if we can do that. It's a bit too low now for this. All right. I think this is, yeah, look, it's at the exact same height as my ears. Next, Playback level. Make sure you're in a quiet environment and try to avoid noise. Lower your monitoring to the minimum level and press play test. I think, yeah, I can do that with this. Play test. All right. Oh, it's showing me the preamp level. Let's test it one more time because this wasn't standing where it should be standing. I think this is the center-ish. All right. Play test. It says okay. All right, room analysis. We can now choose between quick mode and advanced mode. The difference between these two is the amount of points that you are measuring. 7 points can be enough, but for this review, we're of course going for the advanced mode. It's going to take a little bit more time to set it up like this, but it is the most precise method, the most advanced method, the most whatever method. Anyway, next. So what it wants to do right now is measure 3 layers. So we need to lower this by 15 centimeters approximately. So let's say this. Again, measurements like this don't come that precise. It's really about taking a lot of different positions within a field. So let's say 15 centimeters, yeah, ish. And I know that this can create some funny comments with like knowing or not knowing how long 15 centimeters is. Anyway, if you're using Arc Studio, be sure to turn off the correction before starting a measurement. Well, we're not using Arc Studio, but if this box would be connected and it would be correcting, you are measuring a correction and creating a correction upon a correction, which is not good. So it has a bypass knob for it. All right, so we've got our sweet spot, but 15 centimeters below it. I think this is our sweet spot. Capture point. All right, and now we're going to have to do that 6 more times. So 1 over here then, I think, yeah. Then we have point 3, and I'm just looking at the pattern on my carpet a little bit so that I later, for the next layers, are roughly at the same spot. Again, roughly is the word here. Don't waste too much of your time with like super precise stuff. The precision of this is somewhere else. All right, next. Next one is our ear level. So let's put it back at ear level again, which was this. We are again at our sweet spot. So that's somewhere over here. So for layer 3, I'm going to use a little bit of a trick because my stand can't go higher. I have a low boom stand. However, these measurement microphones, they are omnidirectional. So what you can do is you can basically just put them up like this and they still would measure the exact same thing. How you can see that this is an omnidirectional microphone is because the capsule is all at the top and there's nothing being done to make this a cardioid or whatever. And by default, a microphone is omnidirectional. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. But anyway, now we've got up to our approximately 15 centimeters. Capture point 1. And that's it for measuring. If I did everything correctly, I can now remove the microphone and continue with the setup process. So this correction, we're going to name this Super Cubes. We're going to have to add a picture to it. It looks the most as a cube speaker. It could also be a subwoofer. Anyway, save. And now we're done with our analysis. So we can now open Arc. And it now asks us to connect our Arc Studio device. And I'm trying to get some power in here. Dat gaat niet lukken. Alright, ja, dat is niet anders. So we got our power plugged in here. Let's also plug in our USB. We got a USB-A to USB-C, but I think that USB-C to USB-C will work as well. We only need the USB connection for the initial setup. Now we can select supercubes in here. So I've turned off our after setting, and here we can see our measurement, and we can see that we do have some standing waves that these cubes are battling against. Definitely this one. This one is pretty heavy, and I think that is my desk. I mean, it's a huge thing. These other ones, I think, can be something like the soffit wall itself, which is of course something that the built-in subs don't have any issue with because they are part of the wall. That's how soffit works. What is also interesting to see on this measurement is this peak here, which is one of my annoyances with the supercubes. It has a weird high frequency roll off. Like, it's very cool how it rolls off, but this peak is just very annoying. Now, what we can do in here is we can choose different targets. So if we look at our after, we'll see how much it will correct and how it will look like. So we can take our default target, we can flat target, we can even get a warm tilt, lively room, whatever. But let's go with the default for now. And here you can see how much it is correcting. So it's not correcting everything, because if you really want to correct this to a flat line, you have to do a lot of processing. There is a certain point at which you are going to filter where it is actually detrimental to your sound. And on one side, this is a problem with EQing, and on the other side, it's also a problem of the type of EQing that you're using. You can choose natural and linear phase, and what you see here when using linear phase is that it corrects less on the low frequencies, where in natural phase it corrects more on the low frequencies. And that's just because with linear phase, you of course get a more phase linear, a more time accurate monitoring system. But linear phase will also cause some pre-ringing when used wrong. So in order to hear what is going on, we have to connect our speakers to the Arc Studio. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use two short cables. I made them specially for this video. So we're going to plug our speakers into the Arc Studio. Right, left. Left and right is actually kind of important because it corrects the left and right speaker independent from each other. It was also measuring them independent from each other. And we've got our, so right, what's this? Let me check it again. Right to right and left to left. Actually just fits here. I recommend using a bit longer cables for this. And now I can either turn the correction on or off. That's all that's on this box. So let's just quickly run a bit of music and just see what is going to happen. No correction.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah.
With correction.
I could stare at you for 100 years and I never blink an eye. You were beautiful, just like a flower. I could walk with you for 1,000,000 miles and my feet would not get tired.
All right, so two interesting things here. First of all, we have a separate box that is doing all our processing. I can now, if I want to, disconnect the USB connection and our correction will keep on going. This box is always making sure that your correction is being done. The benefit of this compared to, for instance, SonarWorks or Dirac or other room correction software packages is that when you're just doing it in software on your computer, it can happen that for some reason it is bypassing the software. I know that there are system-wide applications, but I've had issues with that sometimes. And if you're not using the system-wide application and you're using the plugin, you can also run into a lot of different problems. Sometimes you forget to insert the plugin, and sometimes you forget to uninsert the plugin before you're sending a file to a client, and then the client receives an audio file with room correction on it. So those are issues, and I haven't even talked about the issues of selecting a different source. So if you have a monitor controller and all of a sudden plug in an iPhone or something, then it's not going to correct it. With a box like this, if you just plug this in between your speakers and your monitor controller, it is always correcting it, you can be way more certain of your monitoring system, and it's way more reliable that way. It feels very good. Downside of having such a box in between it is that if you're using an interface that is like a super expensive with very special ADDA conversion, then you have to realize that this box is another step of analog to digital and digital to analog conversion. I'm not expecting it to be at the same level as, for instance, a Neumann MT48 or an Army ADI-2. However, I also do like to think that I'm now talking in two different levels of audio engineering. Like if you want to room correct with the Arc Studio, you probably are just looking for some very easy to use and handy room correction, and you're not in the super duper high end, nobody's ever going to hear the difference type of audio engineering level. So take this for what it's worth. Now I want to quickly dive into this settings in here again, because one of the things that I noticed here, and I can maybe show you this when turning up the volume a little bit. I am making these speakers work very, very hard. And you can see that here. Like if we look at the before and the after, you see that probably in the processing of these speakers, there's already a filter in there to not have them produce these low frequencies, because they're not made for it. They're very small. It's already pretty impressive what they're doing. So one of the things I want to do is change the correction to, let's say, 50 hertz or something, like no correction underneath 50 hertz, because these speakers simply cannot do it. Also, I'm thinking of reducing this high frequency peak here a little bit more, but we cannot set a Q factor in here. So I'm just not going to do this. It is really important to make sure that you're not overcorrecting your speakers too much, definitely on the low frequencies, because this can seriously hurt your speakers if they're not protected correctly. Also, if you are seeing a before curve with extreme peaks and valleys in here, don't try to correct it, but correct your room instead of trying to EQ your speakers, because there is a certain point where your room fights back just as hard as your speaker is fighting the room. So it will always cancel, or it will always sum, and you cannot do anything about it. So it's really important to tackle this. Also, what's really cool to set up in here, but I don't need to use this, there's a little trim in here. And with that trim, we can basically equalize the gain of the before and after, which is great if you are comparing two different settings. So if you're comparing the with and without setting of the Arc Studio. Now, after we've made our setting in here and we are happy with it and have listened to it a few times, have done our trimming, targeting, everything, it's really important to press store here, because the store button indeed sends it to the Arc Studio. Really, really important to do this, otherwise it will wipe out your settings and it won't do anything. Now we can disconnect our USB cable, and this box is just functioning as a standalone room correction EQ. And that is Arc Studio. That's it. That's this package, Arc Studio, together with this. That's Arc Studio. Now, if you didn't know it already, it is just an EQ. It doesn't do any like weird dark magic trickery or something. It's just basically a room correction EQ in a very easy to use box. Now, this package is going to sell for $300 or whatever that will mean in European money standards. But the only price that I know right now is $300. And I think that's a great price for a great upgrade for most studios. Like, this can help so much with mixing if your monitoring situation isn't optimal. There are way more things to getting correct monitoring. There's way more to it than just having all the frequencies at the same level. But to start with, this is just a really great product. I don't know what else to say about it. So yeah, go check it out. I'll link to IKEY Multimedia in the description down below. And I want to give a huge thanks and shout out to IKEY Multimedia and my contact Neil for sending me this stuff beforehand so that I could make a video on launch day. I'm not being paid by IKEY Multimedia to make this video or to say what they want me to say. Everything that I'm saying in my videos are my complete, honest and independent opinion. And if you appreciate that, make sure to check out my affiliate links. I'll link Thomann, Sweetwater and Plugin Boutique over here. So for your hardware purchases and your software purchases, make sure to check out these links. It's highly appreciated if you do, and it's really helping the channel a lot. All of you are really helping the channel a lot. If you don't want to use the affiliate links and want to use a different method, you can consider becoming a channel member. You can do that using the join button somewhere underneath this video. And as a channel member, you get early access to videos, if possible. Like this video was under embargo, so I couldn't do that. Anyway, you get early access to videos and some other extra bonus content, and you're of course helping the channel a lot. I'll link an interesting playlist over here. If you just want to watch more videos, which also helps the channel a lot, I'll link a video over here, or actually YouTube will do that. I don't know which video this is going to be. Let me know what... Anyway, thanks a lot for watching, keep pushing, and bye-bye.